Imagine a scorching summer noon in Samaria, where each grain of sand dances in the parched wind. A woman quietly approaches the well, bearing not just a simple clay jug on her shoulder, but the weight of 5 husbands and a village's scornful stares. Shunned by society, her heart wears deep wounds, until a sudden encounter opens a door to hope. The man before her is no stranger, but the Messiah offering living water to quench her thirst and shame. In that moment, grace and divine justice collide, awakening courage in a lost soul. Can faith heal her past? The Samaritan woman's journey unveils timeless wisdom, proving that, though forsaken, everyone is worthy of love. Don't miss this moving story. Subscribe to join us on a journey of faith and hope. Beneath Samaria's searing sun, where the air blazed and each grain of sand swirled in dry gusts, a slender figure walked quietly on a rustic dirt path. On her shoulder, a simple clay jug trembled with each step, as if echoing the burden she carried. No one knew her name. To the villagers, she was merely the woman at the well, her life laden with gossip, contempt. She'd endured 5 marriages, and the man now beside her wasn't her husband, but a fleeting name from a tense past. This small village nestled among arid hills, where gaunt olive trees offered scant shade, and birds' shrill calls made the space feel desolate. Samaritans, shunned by Jews, cursed as heretics, were deemed unworthy of the temple. In this harsh atmosphere, she lived alone. No home, no shoulder to lean on, only pain from each failed marriage, like weathered scars on her heart. Each day she dared visit Jacob's well only at noon, when others fled the blazing sun, prying eyes seeking shade in neighbors' gardens. Jacob's well had witnessed countless sorrows. Elderly women wearily hauling water, children chattering. But for her, it was a place to trade privacy, fairness for solitude. From afar, her footsteps crunched on drying earth. Her first steps held faint pride, soon yielding to fatigue. Her heart tightened, recalling yesterday's scornful glances from village women. Their smug lips, whispered tales, never missing a chance to recount her 5 failed marriages, venomous jabs at her nameless current bond. She bowed her head, long hair veiling her face, a collapsing sky, hoping to hide behind its strands. Jacob's well loomed ahead, her heart clenching as she touched its weathered oilwood canopy, silvered by time. Water below gurgled, cool as a gentle whisper amid the scorching earth. Shimmering pools reflected her, carrying untold burdens. Setting her jug by the well's rim, she bent to scoop water with a rough clay ladle, silently wishing her burdens would fade into nothingness. But before the ladle touched the bottom, she froze. Another's footsteps sounded, distinct, steady. Looking up, she met a stranger's gaze. His skin was fairer than a Samaritan's, his form graceful in a Jew's white robe. His eyes, kind yet fathomless, seemed to pierce her thoughts, pains. As their gazes locked, the air stilled, wind ceased, birds fell silent. She started, mouth dry, speechless, heart racing with a mix of caution, curiosity. Why would a Jew who despised Samaritans pause before her? They shunned heretics, yet he stood there not with contempt, but a gentle voice. "Give me a drink." His words, soft as a breeze, broke her grim thoughts. She stepped back, now the question, Why would you ask me for water? Her trembling voice, laced with doubt, Surprise escaped her lips. Society taught her silence to avoid eyes, but now old rules shattered. His gaze held no anger, no scorn, but empathy, respect. She sensed something different, not probing, but seeking, yearning to hear her story. She nodded faintly, inviting him closer to the well. He poured water into the ladle, offering it to her as if knowing it wasn't just water, but a symbol of an unprecedented dialogue start. In that moment, beyond the jug and well, an invisible thread linked them, faith awaiting unveiling. She wondered, how does he know my past? 5 marriages, wounds, pain. But the question stayed unspoken. She only dared meet his eyes with a half smile, a shy grin for a new beginning. He, calm, seemed to await a miracle from her parched lips. Samaria's village, poor and ancient, seemed to rise into a sacred scene. Sunlight glinted off the water like gems, surrounding noises fading behind silence's curtain. The air carried earth, incense smoke, the salty tang of drawn water. All converged to witness her fated moment. A choice: flee into her past night, or touch hope's light. She set the jug on the well's rim, eyes meeting his, as if to etch this moment forever. The world seemed to pause, only her heartbeat resounding. It raced, not from fear, but fierce curiosity. She stood at a crossroads, an encounter opening divine justice's door, timeless wisdom. A few passers-by glanced, surprised at a Jew speaking with a Samaritan woman. They paused, whispered, eyes curious. But she no longer feared scrutiny. Long accustomed to harsh stares, their curiosity didn't deter her. Instead, a small faith stirred. Perhaps she deserved to be heard, valued. In that instant, she realized the well wasn't just for water, but a well of promise. Jacob's promise of solace, hope. Dust caked her cheeks, but her heart felt strange peace. She reached out, nodding faintly to him. First a silent assent, then the start of a destiny-altering dialogue. And from here, under Samaria's blazing sky, her story began to unfold. A tale of a shunned woman daring to touch grace, of a Messiah of bringing living water to a thirsting soul, of faith strong enough to heal the deepest wounds. She didn't yet know that from this moment, her life would never be the same. A journey of courage, wisdom, divine justice awaited, written line by line, step by step, under Samaria's radiant sky. Under the blazing sun, where sounds dwindled to the wind's hiss through stone crevices, she set her clay jug down, gazing at the figure newly appeared by the well. A Jew's presence at noon in Samaria was already strange, but what stopped her heart was his gaze, unavoiding, free of contempt, brimming with respect, curiosity. In an instant, society's harsh rules melted, giving way to a feeling both foreign, exhilarating. She silently watched as he drew the chipped wooden ladle, scooping water from the well's depths, pouring it into another to offer clear drops into his palm. The act wasn't mere drinking. It became a bridge for a wordless dialogue between her, the outcast, and the man in solemn Jewish robes. Each falling drop wasn't just physical relief, but a herald of a deeper need to be recognized, forgiven, loved. No questions, no direct requests, Yet her eyes held unspoken truths: doubt, pain of rejection, a fragile spark of hope. Her heartbeat pulsed, now thundering under the past's weight, now slowing, singing at a new possibility. Her gaunt hands trembled, offering the clay ladle to him, awaiting a remedy for the unseen thirst within. Then he, no longer a boundless stranger, met her eyes with a look piercing her deepest sorrows. The sense of her past exposed, 5 marriages, village gossip, crashed like a fierce wave through her being. Something shattered in her heart. Images of 5 husbands, women's taunts, neighbors' scornful glares, all returned, haunting, urging her to flee. Yet, instead of disdain or irritation, he leaned slightly, letting the intensifying sun bathe her frost-touched hair, as if inviting her to embrace light. The wordless gesture held profound meaning. He came not to condemn, but to free. Tension, mounting each moment, drew her into a beautiful trap of faith, divine justice. In her mind, the past flashed vividly. Quarrels, silent tears on pillows, relentless scorn, gossip hounding her daily. She told herself she deserved no goodness, not even Jacob's well's cool water. But his gaze offered a silent promise. There was still room for wounded hearts to heal. A bold thought crept in. Can I trust this man when society has forsaken me? The notion loomed like a dark streak across the blinding scene, but his radiant eyes swiftly dispelled it. She glimpsed this wasn't chance, but the start of a faith's discovery. The clay jug, symbol of past burdens, sat by the well, but in her mind it began yielding to another vessel, one of hope, grace. Each time he lifted the ladle, she saw drops of grace seep into her soul, gentle, steadfast, commanding. Her inner thirst for freedom from wounds, for new faith, grew fierce. The fateful moment struck when he revealed clear knowledge of her life, no longer veiled by glances or gestures. A faint echo stirred within. Her past, 5 failed marriages, current unnamed bond, was no secret. Every path she had walked, every fleeting figure, seemed recorded in his deep gaze. Fear, inferiority surged, trembling her. But what chilled her most wasn't exposure, but his challenging silence, no judgment, no condemnation. Instead, he radiated a wondrous energy, blending justice, mercy. She realized this wasn't a blade cutting her pain, but a destined light illuminating her soul's darkest corners, inviting her to face, move forward. In that moment, inner conflict erupted. One side yearned to flee, back to her past shadows. The other, a fragile faith in change. A call resounded within. Dare trust, despite doubt. Dare face, though the past was cruel. Dare open, though society rejected her. These tremors formed a whirlwind, pulling her to life's crossroads. The sun still scorched, but she ignored sand grains on her skin. She felt only blood coursing, pulsing like a reminder. The decisive moment had come. The world hushed. Wind, birds, daily life softened, as if the universe held its breath for her turning point. Finally, she raised her head, eyes locked on him. The one who saw her pain dared embrace her. No more words were needed. Her next act would decide. Retreat to a dark past or leap toward faith's light. The initial conflict closed, opening a new chapter, a quest for living water, a soul's rebirth in Samaria's arid land. In that decisive moment, the Samaritan woman saw no path of escape unfolding before her. Instead of retreating, her heart surged with newfound strength, a resilient force urging her to stay by the arid well, facing the man who seemed to hold her painful memories, village gossip in his gaze. Courage, long buried under shame's shell, burst awake. Rather than bowing to scornful stares, she drew a deep breath, lifted her face, and told herself she deserved respect, deserved answers to the mysteries ensnaring her soul. Then she tilted her head, a gesture simple yet profound, casting a look of yearning understanding toward the man. No complaints, no blame, only fierce curiosity about how he saw through the agony of her 5 past marriages, knew her current unnamed bond. Surrounding sounds faded, leaving a profound silence where 2 souls from seemingly opposing worlds, a Jew, a shunned Samaritan, began a journey of faith's discovery. The man, with calm demeanor and eyes blending justice, mercy, touched the worn ladle, as if reminding her their talk wasn't just about cool water in hand, but an unseen spiritual stream, flowing from divine power to quench all thirst, shame. From that moment, she felt the warmth of a promise. Living water, never dwindling, able to heal the heart's deepest wounds. This water wasn't fleeting relief, but an invitation to a journey of profound change from the soul's core. Before each step to Jacob's well bore only past burdens, fear of scrutiny. Now her steps followed a thirst for truth. Instead of hastily scooping water and leaving, she set the ladle down, allowing herself to study the man's demeanor. His wisdom in each motion sparked a vague trust that beyond the material world lay a spiritual kingdom where justice, love walked together. Shame, once paralyzing, gave way to fragile yet fierce hope to partake in that living water. She didn't shy from voicing her heart's questions, driven not just by curiosity, but a pulse pounding through her veins. How could faith surmount barriers, like the wall isolating her from Samaritan society? She recalled the village women's prying eyes, laden with gossip about her 5 failed marriages, sneers at her undefined bond. She'd wondered if anyone could embrace a wounded soul like hers. Now, before this man, she felt for the first time a gaze not of judgment, but sincere inquiry. It urged her another step toward grace. The well's sound grew resonant, like time's echo, layers of history stacking, telling Jacob's story, his sacred promise to descendants. She thought of ancestors' prayers, vows lifting their people. Feeling once rejected, she now sensed precious worth. Glancing at the clay jug, she imagined it no longer holding pain, but hope, no longer rejection symbol, but a marker for faith's journey. Instead of bowing and leaving, she tilted her head, eyes signaling readiness to listen, to receive what came. Each subtle shift on her face, from initial tremors to emerging confidence, showed faith's expansion. No longer blind, it was awakened as she dared meet his gaze, letting her eyes absorb its radiant light. Her past and present intertwined in her mind, a bitter past of scorn, betrayal, a present opening hope's door through this Messiah's promise of living water, transcending human prejudice. To find a new dawn within, she must question, not hide burdens, not evade herself. Asking wasn't just a step, but wise defiance of darkness for light. With each heartfelt question, she drew nearer a sacred source. She craved not just how he knew her, but what living water meant for her soul. She envisioned it flowing not from Jacob's well, but an unseen spring, piercing barriers, surpassing Samaritan Jewish divides, past and future. This water promised freedom's taste, forgiveness, wound marred by old sins. In that sacred, hazy moment, her soul shifted. Each step neared faith's root, true worship's source. She began to see worship wasn't mere outward ritual, but a heart listening, yearning for the divine. She pictured herself head high, no longer veiled by shame, offering her life in profound reverence. Her growth shone in shedding hesitation. No longer the silenced outcast, she became a living witness to a sacred promise. Each glance with the man wove an invisible bond, like a scarlet thread tying souls, guiding her to boundless faith. A wondrous strength surged, reminding her she wasn't alone. Someone walked beside, leading with light, divine justice. Today's audience, distant from Samaria's arid land, can see themselves in her courage. Who hasn't felt lost, rejected, doubting their worth? Who hasn't stood at destiny's crossroads, torn between heavy past, open future? The Samaritan Woman teaches us, don't flee darkness. Stay, dare question, seek light. Stepping onto truth's path begins a life of hope, change. From her choice to stay, the quest for living water truly began. No longer the woman of burdens, she became a symbol of bold faith, shining in barren land. Her journey from shame's shadow to faith's light is a timeless tale, kindling hope, divine justice in every soul thirsting for salvation. Under Samaria's sun-drenched sky, a fateful moment struck like radiant lightning. The man before her leaned forward, eyes flashing one final time, and declared in the still air, I, the one speaking to you, am the Messiah you've awaited. His words weren't mere sound, but a cosmic echo shaking the Samaritan woman's heart to its core. Waves of emotion crashed within, shock, awe, then trembling faith budding. As the Messiah, hope of her people, once a legend, stood before her, the world expanded, yet shrank to one point. A moment where two souls merged, like a drop touching a still lake, rippling across the void. Her mind surged with memories. 5 failed marriages, scornful glares, venomous whispers. Rejection's weight had long crushed her heart. But now, before this sacred proclamation, they turned to ash. Inner conflict peaked, one side, a shame of her past, the other, a fresh spark of hope. She stood at a crossroads where one choice could reshape her destiny. Did she have courage to accept this truth beyond prejudice's bounds and seize the beckoning grace? The surrounding space hushed. Wind stirred sand, sunlight stretched across the earth. Her heart beat like a triumphant drum, though her feet faltered in lingering disbelief. Facing the Messiah, she found no condemnation, only a profound invitation. The fear of judgment, her deepest dread, melted into a supportive hand, free of resentment. In that moment, grace emerged like mist in a parched desert, bringing salvific warmth to a soul-craving freedom. She slowly released the clay jug, her companion through years of burdens. Once holding cool water, it bore her sorrow, shame. Now setting it on the sand, she shed her past weight. The wordless act spoke her bold resolve, ready to forsake old chains for a new journey. The jug's soft thud echoed faintly, but in her mind it rang like a bell heralding a new era. Without hesitation, she turned from Jacob's well, heading toward the village silent under the sun. Her steps, infused with new breath, cast off past layers, revealing a woman daring to believe in miracles. Returning, she carried unyielding faith. Despite gossip, scorn, suspicious stares, her heart felt lighter than ever. She bore not wounds, but a blazing fire of hope. Reaching the village, the scene sprang to life. Women's footsteps paused, curious eyes turned. News of the strange encounter spread like desert wind. In a moment, she stopped at the crossroads, raising her arms, eyes ablaze. No words needed. The community grasped the message. Something momentous awaited. Whispers grew, then shifted to hurried steps toward the well, where hours before she'd quietly drawn water. As villagers gathered around the well, Jesus' presence among them sharpened. Sunlight glinted off the water, casting shimmering bands. In that air, the Samaritan woman was no longer an outcast. She became a herald of good news. A divine presence knew their pains, desires. The village, from scorners to the curious, flocked to her hearing an untold tale. Dropping the jug under Messiah's declaration wasn't just personal, but a symbol of divine justice, forgiveness. Instead of punishing past sins, grace welcomed all, regardless of status. Once rejection's image, she became hope's banner, drawing her community from darkness to faith's light. They saw her not with curiosity, but respect, reverence. Jacob's well, once mere sustenance, became a sacred spring's emblem. Villagers no longer drew water for physical need, but thirsted for living water, healing wounds at their root. The simple well-side scene in the arid desert inspired a harmony of material, spiritual, past, future, human, divine. American audiences distant from Samaria's stark landscape can grasp the timeless message. Who hasn't needed a second chance? Who hasn't borne wounds, longed for acceptance? The Samaritan Woman's story shows justice isn't just punishment, but rebirth's chance where faith transforms individuals, communities. She teaches that shedding the past, stepping into hope's light, begins healing. As the sun sank behind sandhills, darkness lost its menace, cloaked in twilight's serene purple. Under dusk, Samaritans gathered at the well, sharing testimony of grace touching a once forsaken woman. Laughter, trusting whispers rose, painting a united community bound by faith. She, once solitary at the well, stood in her neighbor's embrace, no longer a stranger, but a symbol of restored hope. The story's climax wasn't just the Messiah declaration, but her daring to drop the jug, run back with fervent faith, spread belief to her village. She chose to face, trust, act, reviving a barren, closed community to openness. Her tale endures. Wisdom isn't fleeing the past, but releasing it. Faith isn't private, but a force uniting, transforming all. In the calm after the storm, the Samaritan woman, once burdened, stood tall, eyes to the horizon. No longer an outsider, she was a bridge between a dry world of prejudice and a grace-filled realm. Her story closes its climax in resolution, opening a new journey. Steadfast faith, undying hope, where anyone can find living water to heal the heart's deepest wounds. As dusk gently fell over Samaria's arid hills, a wondrous change rippled through the small village. The woman, once shunned, silently lingering at Jacob's well, now walked among the crowd with radiant eyes. Her gaze, once veiled by fear, self-doubt, now shone with resolve, brimming with hope. Gone was the weary posture of one burdened by the past. In its place stood the serene bearing of a woman who had found true grace. Each step on the cobblestone path to the village center pulsed like a reborn heart's beat. Villagers, long accustomed to greeting her with suspicion or scorn, couldn't help but follow. Instead of turning away, they rushed to the well, drawn by the extraordinary aura she exuded. Many paused, some bowing to light incense in Samaritan ritual, their hearts filled with reverence, yearning. Elderly villagers, knees trembling, hands shaky on canes, tracked her steps. Children, initially timid, edged closer, curious about the silent tale unfolding. No one uttered criticism, only an air thick with anticipation of a miracle. In that moment, as she approached Jesus, still standing quietly by the well's mouth, faces lit with faith. No further explanation was needed. What had transpired affirmed the Messiah had touched a forsaken soul. All eyes turned to him, but the Samaritan woman was the catalyst for new belief. She was living proof that grace could transform a community. This grace didn't merely forgive past sins. It opened a path to healing, unity. The crowd slowly dispersed, but none left unchanged. A young man, once scornful, approached, bowing and pouring water for an elderly woman nearby. An older woman, once whispering behind her back, offered a sincere smile, as if thanking her for dispelling doubts. Even those focused on daily water fetching now listened to the living water tale, eyes alight with faith. Jacob's well ceased to be a mere water source, becoming a symbol of change, rebirth. Her story swiftly outgrew the village. Traveling merchants carried it to nearby regions, recounting the courageous woman who dropped her jug, ran to spread good news. Samaritans from other areas, long divided, began questioning their feuds. Rumors of living water drew many to the well at noon, a time once hers alone. The community, from quiet to open, surged toward hope's light. Her untold story became a potent reminder of courage, faith's power. She, once deemed a sinner, unworthy, ignited true hope, not just for herself, but for all Samaria. From prejudice's shadow, they stepped into forgiveness, divine justice's light. No tale of punishment. It proved love's salvation, the second chance all crave. This message echoes beyond Samaria's valleys, across millennia to today's world. In modern America, we each face our own well, loneliness, deep-seated guilt, or society's rejection. Her story reminds us every well holds healing's chance. Living water isn't just a symbol, but a call to faith, to soul's renewal, rebirth. We needn't flee the past or hide wounds, for grace awaits, ready to touch our heart's thirst. Divine justice, unlike human prejudice, doesn't punish or shun. It offers a fresh start, empowering those daring to face themselves. Live boldly. Though society shuts doors, though criticism echoes, faith is the lighthouse guiding weary souls. Her story urges us to seek living water in our lives, forgiving ourselves, healing old bonds, hoping for a brighter future. Dropping the jug, past's burdens, opens us to miracles. The path isn't easy, but in daring to release, we find true freedom. Let her story inspire you. No matter the pen, its echoes needn't shape tomorrow. Grace, like cool water, quenches inner thirst, nurturing stronger souls. Live bravely, like the Samaritan woman, daring to face the unknown, trust sacred promises, share your light with the world. Thank you for exploring this untold story. If it uplifted you, hit subscribe to catch future videos. Leave a comment below, share your well, where you've found or still seek living water. Share this with friends in America beyond to spread faith, hope, new chances. May God bless your journey. Next, don't miss Mary Magdalene's inspiring tale awaiting discovery.